what's up, my friends? My name is Joshua Latimer. I'm going to give you 3 tips for raising world-changing children, assuming you want to do that. It sounds like maybe an old school way of thinking, but did you know that the purpose of life is to enhance, platform, and uplift the generation after you? Did you know that the world doesn't revolve around you? It also doesn't revolve around your kids. I think one of the mistakes parents make, especially in modern culture, is that we idolize and deify our children. The purpose of your life is not to worship and wait hand and foot on your kid. In fact, not only is it devastatingly crippling to their future success, but it makes your life miserable. Because guess what? If you build your whole life around them and you cater to them and they grow up and they leave, because they will, by the way, that's a good thing, you're going to be left having no idea who you are, and your identity was found in your kids. No, your identity cannot be found in your children. So my first tip, if you want to raise a world changer, is to encourage failure. Literally encourage failure. This is contradictory to mainstream schooling ideology, okay? Schools teach kids to memorize stuff, regurgitate the stuff, and get a pat on the head if they did a good job. The real world doesn't work like that. I mean, parts of it do, but generally speaking, if you want your kids to have the biggest unfair advantages possible, they have to know how to think outside the box, think asymmetrically, how to problem solve. They need people skills. They need soft skills. Memorizing dates in a history book, I guess, is useful to pass the history test, but knowing how to have a conversation with an adult when you're a young person and be impressive during that conversation is a skill set that's orders of magnitude more important than memorizing the dates in a history book. And so we encourage failure with our kids. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we want them to fail for failure's sake, but we kind of do want them to fail, because the more iterations they have, the more times they're willing to be bad at something, the greater the likelihood is that they're going to be great at something. We have our kids debate each other for fun as family projects. We encourage them to give speeches, to make content, to make videos. We teach them how to teach. We also homeschool our 5 kids, right? They've started businesses. They've started businesses that failed. They've started businesses where they had to walk in and try to sell something to an adult. The adult was mean to them and they had to cry. That's what I mean by failure, because that is not a failure, my friend. That is a confidence building, experience stacking, unfair advantage waiting to happen. The second tip, if you want to raise world-changing kids, is to cultivate an absolute hunger for knowledge. How do you make everything about life fascinating to them? I have a lot of passion, in general. And yes, I'm making a video right now, but I get pretty worked up when I'm with my kids. I think everything is epic. Everything is. I think a blade of grass is epic. Everything is magnificent and profound and deep and awesome. And that's kind of the tone and the vibe in our household. I want my kids to dig and look for knowledge. I want them to know that there are secrets to be found. I want them to know that there are gold nuggets in the dirt to be dug up, literally and metaphorically. It's really important that you open their eyes to be able to see what other people can't see, so they can do what other people can't do, so they can ultimately get and have what other people can't have. And you do that by making them hungry for knowledge. My kids, even at a young age, listen to adult audiobooks. And my kids are not better than any other kids. They're just like regular, goofy, little quirky kids, but they truly sit at home and consume things and learn things. And then they're excited to teach me what they learned when I get home, and I question them and I quiz them and I have them recap it to me. My son Sawyer read a book on logical fallacies. He's kind of our nerdy one. He's got glasses, and we call him our well actually kid, because he always corrects us. He goes, well, actually, in the Cretaceous period. Anyway, that kid, Sawyer, he was reading a book on logical fallacies. And, I told him I'd give him some points if he finished this book and gave me a report on the book. This is a super simple family system that has changed the lives and the trajectory of my children, because they know so much stuff and they're excited to learn it. So we gamify things for them. Whenever they're doing something to increase their knowledge, to increase their wisdom, to learn things, to dig for things, we gamify and applaud that at every chance that we can. And so Sawyer would send me a video after every chapter, reteaching me what he just learned. This is the straw man fallacy, and this is a red herring, and this is how this works, and this is how this works. And actually, Dad, this is actually super fascinating, and I have like 25 videos just in that one book. It's a big deal, and they're not going to get this if you as a parent don't make it happen. And my third tip to raising world-changing epic kids is to have candid conversations super young. Look, I'll level with you. I do not think we need to put adult information and adult life burdens on the shoulders of children. That is not what I mean by what I'm about to say. But I will say this. I want my kids to learn from me all the stuff that they're going to learn anyway, okay? They're not going to learn that there's no Santa Claus from their buddy at school in 6th grade and be humiliated. We just don't lie to our kids. There's no Santa Claus, okay? It's okay. Mom and dad buy the presents. You get the present. The transaction still works, makes a lot of sense, but we don't lie to them. We're very candid. We're open with them. We have existential conversations when they're tiny. I have recordings of my kids when they're 3 years old, and I say, what's the purpose to life? Why do you exist? Who made you? How did we get here? What would you do in that situation? And even as I ask these questions to their tiny little brains, I know that they can't really answer, but I'm planting the seeds to have deep conversations with them young, because this is how you develop big thinking and deep thinking adults. You got to understand, the purpose of childhood is not to play with toys. The purpose of childhood is to prepare for adulthood. They're going to spend a lot more time as an adult than they do as a child. But did you know that 80% of a kid's character is fully developed by 8 years old? Did you know that? So we need to start early. We need to not just tell them the truth about Santa Claus, but we need to talk about the meaning of life, and that they're made on purpose and for a purpose, that they have meaning and significance and value, that they were handmade on purpose by the watchmaker. Every watch has a watchmaker. Now, obviously, we have a Christian worldview. Don't hate me because you ate me. But it makes no difference if you do or not when it comes to raising your kids that are confident, that can take action and affect the world around them. If they're a deep thinker, okay, it makes a big, big difference. If they're hungry for knowledge, always looking for the secret, nuanced information, it makes a big, big deal in their brain. And of course, if they've had the opportunity to fail at many, many things on their way towards being great at some things. See you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, click the video on the left to watch the previous upload. And if you want one of my personal favorites, click the video on the right. And of course, don't forget to hit the middle to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for being on this journey with me.